Yes, we come again to alert our people about the things coming at them, the things some of which they think they know, but which they really do not know. The campaigns are heating up. There's the PDP, there's the APC, there's the Labour Party. Let's limit ourselves to those three for the purpose of the important thing we need to know now, whether it is election that will solve the problems that are coming at us, the invasion that is now, becoming more rampant, the Fulani invasion. We recall that we had talked about plans A, B, and C of the invading Fulani led by our own president and commander-in-chief, a Fulani man. The conquest that the Fulani is driving at in order to reestablish ownership and control over the territorial space the world calls Nigeria. In the face of the defeat of the Constitution 1999, that was the title deed, that is still the title deed, by which they exercise control over the entire sovereign space. Now, we've arrived at the juncture where Ninas need to tell everybody, especially those who are building their hope around one or the other of these three campaigns. Why does Ninas say that we must shut down the journey to the election? Why does Ninas say nothing will improve except this constitution goes down? Why does Ninas say it is this constitution that empowers the murderous invaders against the indigenous peoples? It is in that light that we want to bring out these three. We want to zoom in on each of these three campaigns to explain to us why none of them is going to take us to anything, any safe destination. We're not talking about even progress, because as long as that constitution is in place, there's no progress that can be made. We can only deteriorate. If we look back at 1999, we will see that we've been deteriorating progressively. And now we're not even talking about the stagnation and that deterioration. We're talking about the danger that is coming towards us in a situation where the Fulani now want to take the entire space for themselves as their new homeland, eliminating and exterminating the indigenous peoples of Nigeria. And so we just want to make it clear that Ninas stands where it stood all the while about the need to shut down the voyage to that election, because no matter who wins the election, that constitution will survive. The calamities we're talking about can only increase, and none of the candidates can do anything about those things for the reasons we're going to explain to you in course of this. So it will be in three parts. We'll take on we'll start with the PDP and their candidate Atiku. Then we go to APC, their candidate Tinubu, and then Labour Party and their candidate PDOB. Now to the Labour Party and its candidate, Mr. PDOB. Ninas wants to inform us that a revolution has already happened. When young people from across the length and breadth of Nigeria trooped out in search of PVCs to deliver change from the quagmire Nigeria has become, from the debt basket and poverty capital Nigeria has become. What, if anybody will be sincere to himself, what that revolution meant was a rejection of the old order, a rejection of the PDP and the APC and whatever they've done since 1999. So these young people thought that, here was an alternative in Peter Obi, the good man, the competent man. But there's a problem. All political parties in Nigeria subscribe to the 1999 Constitution. That is the reason for the situation we are in now, including Labour Party. And the candidates of Labour Party have been engaged, just like the other two candidates, Atiku and Tinubu, had been engaged by this project over the years. The Labour Party candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, had been engaged since 2012 on this question of the constitutional arrangements that is responsible for Nigeria that is not working. The corruption, the impunity, the insecurity, the decayed infrastructure, and all of the inefficiencies we have seen that have resulted in global poverty capital for Nigeria. And it is in that light, it is on account of what Peter Obi understood from those years of engagement that he came public to declare to all that the vehicle Nigeria has a knocked engine, and that what Nigeria should be looking for is a new engine or vehicle, not a new driver to drive the knocked engine. And so we were already beginning to imagine that he has come to full understanding of what we are saying. Suddenly, he then turns up, to present himself as that excellent driver that will take everybody out of the ditch Nigeria is in now to some great destination. Unfortunately, the young people who went searching for PVC do not seem to, they don't seem to be aware of that knocked engine status of the Nigerian vehicle. And so they jumped into this this campaign for, which they tagged obedient, to get this great driver that will move the Nigerian vehicle to El Dorado, carrying them on board. We began to imagine, progressively, because the people that somebody who already said that this engine is knocked, Ninas is asking, has there been a replacement of that engine so that Peter Obi can be the better driver to take everybody to the great destination? There has been not any such. So what is the basis of this economic statistics of how this will happen and how that will happen? Let us just come back to what the problem is. The constitution that says we have submitted that hijacks our sovereignty and hijacks our assets and hijacks our rights to do anything for ourselves, that has become a fraud against us. If we proceed to this election and Labour Party becomes the winner on account of this deceit to the young people, deceit of the young people into thinking that it is a better driver we are looking for, or a replacement of the drivers that have not done well. The last driver being, what's his name, Muhammad Buhari. The Jonathan before him, the Obasanjo before Jonathan, and all of that. It is just a misdiagnosis of the situation. The problem that has to be solved is that this constitution that guarantees, that creates all of these conditions, has to go. It's not election that will take it away. Are we not able to define the change we seek? Are we not able to determine whether it is the system that has to change or the personnel? So much has been said about this. Are we not then able to come to the realization that if it is the system, everybody is already in agreement that that constitution is unworkable, So if it is the system, meaning that it is the system that has to change. If it is the system that has to change, is it by election that will produce only new personnel that are going to talk about the system? The day after the election, on which day? In the coming days, the election is still 7 long months away. Ninas is going to come to the public with these questions and engage the campaigns of these 3 parties. The other ones, we can let them entertain themselves for now. These 3 major parties, we are going to ask them these same questions that we are listening to now. How they are going to deliver that change, how they are going to take anybody from where we are now to any new destination, how they are going to resolve the Nigerian question, how they are going to change the things that are producing this corruption. We have the tap that is on. It is from that constitution that the tap is that constitution. All that is gushing out of it now begin to translate into corruption, impunity, infrastructural decay, insecurity, and all of what this mass poverty we see. Everything you suffer is flowing from that constitution. The Nina's proposition is, let us turn off the tap. What P2B is offering in all of the campaign, he has not touched that question of that constitution. All he's been talking about is economic this, economic that, meaning that he is only intending to come to mop what is gushing out of that tap called the constitution. And why are we saying so? Why are we saying that he is not going to be able to address the main question? I'm sure many of us saw the interview of Mr. Dele Farotimi on Sahara TV or so, where he also spoke to the 3 campaigns, dismissing the first 2, APC and PDP, as 2 sides of the same coin, but that the Labour Party and P2B presenting themselves as the alternative. But in that alternative, that P2B has not touched on the one subject that is central to changing anything, the constitution. He hasn't taken a position on what he will do about the constitution that is the source of all the problem. Now let's touch on 2 things quickly so that we can put everything in perspective. There are 3 compartments of the problems, confronting us now. There's the Fulani agenda in one compartment. Fulani is coming from Senegal, Mauritania, Guinea, everywhere to enter Nigeria, conquer the place, and make it the homeland of the Fulani. We saw them come to celebrate in Abuja the other days from 16 different countries. That's a problem by itself. Nothing to do with our constitution. The only thing that on this occasion they have one of them, a Fulani man called Muhammad Buhari, who happens to be our president, leading them in that conquest invasion, being our commander-in-chief, compromising our military, and making sure that they're able to, they don't come as Fulani herdsmen, they came as Boko Haram, they came as ISWAP, flooding everywhere. And so that is the Fulani agenda that wants to capture the entire Nigerian space, eliminate the indigenous peoples, and make Nigeria, as currently known, Fulani homeland. That's one compartment of the problem. The second compartment is that it is in furtherance of that Fulani agenda, which Ahmadu Bello defined excellently in his battle script of 1960, where he talked about the estate of their great-grandfather that should never be allowed to go to other people, which has become the constitution we have now. It is in the second compartment that we now have the constitution, the unitary constitution that the Fulani imposed on all of us since 1979, arising from their victory in the disputations of 1966 to 1970. That's how we came about the unitary constitution, away from the federal union that we agreed upon in Lancaster House. And so it is in that second compartment that you now have all of what we have been discussing about the constitution that is the problem that we have to solve. And there's a third compartment, the economic problems we've now seen, resulting from the first 2 compartments. It is the Fulani agenda and the unitary constitutional arrangement they imposed that resulted in the economic quagmire we are in now. And so Peter will be coming to talk about how he will solve this and that, all revolving around the economy. He has left the tap on and telling us how he will mop, leaving the tap on. Even if we're in that mopping for 50 years or 100, things can only get worse. That is on one side. That is, the Fulani agenda is ongoing, including the conquest we see. We saw what's been going on in Abuja, including the attack in Kuje prison, including the attack on the Brigade of Guards in Buhari, including the shooting in Ministers Hill. Yes, so that conquest agenda is going on. Election is in February of 2023, and there's nothing that is coming from this P2B's campaign that is going to slow them down from completing that overrun and conquest, even ahead of we remember again we talked about plan A, B, and C of the caliphate. Plan A being conquest, raw conquest as we are seeing. Plan B being to disrupt the security situation further and assume martial powers, or suspend the election on their own terms, suspend the constitution, and begin to do whatever they choose, like we saw in Afghanistan. And so where we are is that it is in that plan C, which takes off from February of 2023, that P2B is playing, and all the other campaigns. That's where they are playing. But particularly the one that has now attracted this massive followership of the young people who thought that what we needed was just a good man that will come, and a competent man that will come and drive a vehicle that has no engine. But to land it somewhere so that we can, our thesis, our charge is that if elections happen in 2023 under this constitution and P2B wins that election, he is not going to touch that constitution. Why do we say so? Look at the people who have been endorsing him and promoting him. Ibrahim Babangida, Olusegun Obasanjo, Ali-Igbo, Hakim Baba Ahmed, Ango Abdullahi. These five men are the most adamantly opposed to anything that will touch that constitution. We remember that Ibrahim Babangida came out a few years ago when this debate of restructuring was building up, to say that the question of the constitutional arrangements is settled. Say these are settled issues. And that if anybody insists that those issues which have been settled in the battlefield of Biafra will have to be revisited, that is the constitutional arrangement. If anybody insists that we have to revisit it, that he will be prepared to wear his uniform and go back to the battlefield. He hasn't said anything, to depart from that position. That's his position. This constitution must stay. If anybody wants it to change, we will go to war. That's Ibrahim Babangida. Olusegun Obasanjo, we have engaged him from the time he came in 1999. I attended this inauguration in 1999 on account of, because it was an overflow from Nadeco. At the time he was coming, we were thinking that we'll go straight to the question of resolving this constitution. I wasted 5 years on Olusegun Obasanjo trying to get him to solve this problem. He became the biggest opposition to touching that constitution. Rather, he wanted to build Nigeria on that constitution they imposed. And we go back to 1979, we remember that it was Obasanjo that presided over the imposition that came in 1979 that was now carried forward in 1999, when he was the one they took from prison to revive that 1979 constitution. And so Obasanjo had been central to how this constitution had been central to the coming of this constitution, to the sustenance of this constitution, and having engaged him very closely. In fact, when we called the Pronaco conference, he went on national TV to say we were committing treason, because we called a meeting of the owners of Nigeria to discuss the terms of our union that had gone, very bad. And so Obasanjo is one of those who cannot be counted on the side of those who want something to change in that constitution. If he is promoting P2B's candidacy, what has P2B covenanted with them? What has P2B covenanted with Babangida and Obasanjo for them to be marketing him? What has he covenanted with Hakim Baba Ahmed? There have been a number of times we had to mention him as one of those who is luring us on behalf of the caliphate to an election that will give life back to a constitution we have defeated. I don't want to talk about Ango Abdullahi and his reckless talks over the years of we are born to rule you. I don't want to talk about Guzo. Everybody knows that, where he stands. With Ibrahim Bangida at the head of the pack. And so, if these are the men promoting the candidature of Peter Obi, we allege that Peter Obi has covenanted with them privately as condition for that support that he will not touch that constitution if he won. If that is not the case, Peter Obi himself has to come to the public to tell us what it is, to tell us what he's going to do about that constitution, because everything he's saying about economic this, economic that, will not solve the problems we're talking about. The Union of Nigeria, defined by this 1999 constitution, is no longer a project. You have more than 3/4 of the country saying they are no longer interested in the Union. The Yoruba on the street, the eastern side is on the street talking Biafra. The other people are being killed in the middle belt. You don't want to address all of that. You are talking about economic. What is the meaning of economic? I don't even know how to call it. It sounds like the animal farm statistics we have been seeing. Peter Obi should also tell us what he went to do in Downing Street the day before he went to Labour Party. Because we know the role of Britain. We also know, we have our own sources of knowing what was discussed in all these places, whether it's in Downing Street or in Mina or in Otta. So we are saying with certainty that if Peter Obi wins on behalf of Labour Party in 2023, the 1999 constitution is intact. He has covenanted with those who are promoting his candidacy that he will not touch it. The young people who are looking for change and who think it is by going with Peter Obi that they will get that change, Ninas is telling you now that no such change will happen. We praise you for standing up and rejecting what you don't like. The time to sit down and talk about what we'll do with the revolution, because the revolution already happened. The only thing remaining now, what are we going to do with that revolution? Can't we pull together all that force and direct it at the base of the problem that is the constitution? This was the same thing we tried to tell those who did answers. Let those demand for the turning off of the tap. There's no other thing that will solve this problem. And with the situation is not even static. The situation is going to degenerate into where you will be overrun. And Afghanistan will happen to you because you are not listening. Ninas will be proposing that all of those who want change, including those who are doing PVC revolution, should come. Let us find a way to redirect that energy to the source of the problem, to turning off the tap, instead of going to get power for 4 years or 8 years at the dictation of those who impose the constitution that tie our hands and our legs. I think we can leave it there for now. Thank you.